G'day everybody, here we are back again with another Sims 4 speed build, and this time it's quite a long build, so I'm actually uploading this in two parts because I couldn't get the whole thing condensed down enough into one part for you. So this build was inspired by a picture I saw which kind of said Cinderella type house to me. You know, the house where she lived with her evil stepmother and stuff like that. So so I've basically given it the same frontage as the picture, but of course I have no idea about the inside. So I've made up my own, and this is basically laying out that frontage and getting it so that it resembles that screen picture. And in that screen it has two towers, a smaller one, which is the smaller one that you can see that I'm doing the roof on now. And by the way, can I just say, oh my god, thank you so much to the Sims 4 developers for including octagonal roofs. It is such an amazing way of building. It is such a powerful tool. The extra shaping that you can do to the roofs, including just your normal straight roofs, not just your round roofs, but it works. The tool, if you hold shift and then click on it, you get an extra manipulation point, and I really love it. And although I haven't used it in this build, I will be using it in some upcoming builds. So you can see now we've got two towers, and as I said, because it's kind of Cinderella inspired, I decided to turn the taller of the two towers into the room that Cinderella lived in. Even though I know she gets the name Cinderella because she slept in the cinders by the fireplace in the kitchen. This house doesn't have a fireplace in its kitchen, but that's okay. So, and the smaller of the tower doesn't even house a staircase because we don't yet have circular staircases. So I'm just trying to get the feel of a fairy tale medieval-ish style house here, and trying to get those, you know, those little dormer windows in what would be the attic situated. And you'll see a little bit later I take it all down, and I think I've cut that, hopefully cut that bit out, but I take it all down and redo it because they just weren't working how I wanted them to. So so I spent a lot of time on this, getting the roof itself sort of creates the fairy tale feel, I feel. It's, you know, those slightly bowed or slightly slanted roofs, slightly bowed, not slightly slanted, because they're clearly slanted, that give it that overall feeling that it's, you know, perhaps an old or not built to the standards that we see these days, that it's more likely to be wood and thatch, and then more thatch on top of the thatch that has bowed over the years. So, but I don't want it to be too exaggerated because it is still the house of a wealthy man, and, you know, obviously his evil new wife and her two revolting daughters. But so Cinderella has got quite a decent room upstairs. You'll see when we get to the decorating part of it. And I've included in this build, we have a master bedroom, which is for obviously the lady of the house. We have two smaller bedrooms upstairs, which are designed as children's bedrooms, not necessarily grown stepdaughters or sorry, stepsisters or whatever. And then Cinderella's room on the top, but we've also included a butler or maid's room as well. So effectively this house can sleep well, it's got 5 bedrooms. So it could sleep, you know, an entire family of Sims. And of course, I have the cats and dogs expansion. So we've also included some pets items so that Cinders can have her her little cat, and I know the cat was the evil guy in the Disney version, but she can have a cat or a dog, and she can have her little her animal friends that were so much a central part of the Disney movie. So now we're starting to get a decent looking house. It's quite large. It's built on the largest lot here in, I think this is, gosh, I'm not even sure. I can't remember what neighbourhood I built it in. And now I've just moved the house to the centre of the lot. The picture that I was going off has the house quite secluded in, maybe not in the middle of a forest, but it's like it's surrounded by heavily wooded areas. So it's quite it's quite secluded. But so I've tried to go for, in the end, when you see the gardening, I've tried to go for recreating that seclusion without blocking the access, because obviously when you want to play, and if you download this house, and I will put a link to the download because it will be available on the community site for download, should you want to use this for your own neighborhood or your own Sims, or even just to have it on display as a bit of a backdrop. I really loved it. I had a bit of a struggle here with the roofs, and I did work it out in the end. You can see when we go back down a couple of floors that the roofs are actually intruding into some of the. See, I thought about making this bigger for Cinders, but then I thought it's just to make it even. Oh, I go through a little bit of it, you know, trying to fiddle around here. It sort of overshadows the house too much, and it doesn't look like the tower as it was intended. So it's just too big. So we go back to the original size in the end, and any minute we'll go back to the original size because it was just too large, and it just, there you go, and it just overshadowed the house too much. But the original picture did have that larger room on the top of that tower, so so I really wanted to recreate that feeling. I do suspect, however, that probably had a spiral staircase inside, but as I said, at this point we still can't recreate that with the Sims, but I'm sure it's under development. And I sort out all these walls later, you will get to see it. I discovered that the roofs, if you lower the roof height to below the wall height, now I could have raised the walls, but and that would have been as valid, but I just I didn't want to work with much larger windows and stuff like that. I wanted to keep it sort of more fairy tale and have even though it's built of stone and it's got shingled roofs, I still wanted to keep that sort of fairy tale cottage feel. So so I actually lower the roofs so that they're not above the wall heights, and that fixes that intruding into other rooms, and you'll probably see that coming up shortly. And yeah, making it look like it was, there you go. So we're lowering the roofs, and it no longer intrudes into the rooms. I'm trying to, again, give it those touches that a medieval style cottage would have. Plus, I have to say, this is my first build since I got the Cats and Dogs expansion, so I spent a lot of time being distracted by shiny things. I was looking at all the various new bits and pieces that have arrived in the decorator section and the build section with the Cats and Dogs expansion, so I was really excited to just see how they looked on roofs and things like that. So so yeah, I've cut out as much of that as possible. And here we are just getting the front entranceway going. I thought I'd go for like thicker stone pillars, but in the end it just making the square box just looked a little bit heavy. So, and there you go, you can see that the roofs have got that beautiful bowed in sort of curvature to it now. And I'm repositioning the dormer windows just to match that curved window. So they don't go endlessly back. They are a 1x1 square essentially. So to make them go seamlessly into the roof, you do have to, you know, lower them a little bit. So here we are back at the front veranda or the front entranceway, and as I said, the big pillars, the big 1x1 pillars, just look too heavy. So I replaced them with some nice ornate columns. Couldn't tell you what pack they're from. I apologize if there are items, if you download this and you don't have a pack that I have, but all of the items should be easily replaceable. There are columns, there are, you know, fences, there are pictures and archways and things like that in all of the packs, including the base game. So you should be able to replace any missing bits quite easily. You know, staircases with a different pattern, etc. So yeah, here we are just getting the final layout on the second floor. Now, I really I loved working with, this is a new floor from the Cats and Dogs, and I think it's one of the new wallpapers as well. So what I tried to do up here with Cinderella's room is to make it very much a hodgepodge of what would be mismatched pieces, perhaps items that she is, you know, rescued from, you know, from her stepsisters, that she's rescued from her stepmother throwing out. So nothing in here is going to match in the end when we change it to, in fact, mismatching pieces. And I do go back and change the bed and put a like a patchwork quilt on it. Excuse me while I take a drink of my tea. So this upstairs will be, it's quite cluttered because I would imagine that she would have tried to drag everything she possibly could up from, you know, the precious things from her room. Here I thought perhaps there may be pictures of her mother and father on the walls, and again, I'm looking for a sofa that's more of a medieval sort of style. Love that new decorator item that's the sunflowers in the milk can, because I kind of figured that Cinderella would work with milk cans. She'd be out milking the cows, she'd be out feeding the chickens, so it made a really good decor item to include in her room, in that it's probably one of the tools that she regularly uses. Now, in the bay windows, I've actually put some plants and little decor items up into them. You can't get them out into the windows and they have no snap points, but I have managed to kind of raise up a few of the plants, and hopefully they'll still be there when you download it. You may, however, if you don't have the Move Objects cheat on, you may have to replace them. They may snap down to the floor or they may disappear. So if you want the plants in the windows, you may have to replace them yourself. So here we are. You can see the rugs are all mismatched. The lamps are all different. She's got a heap of books and things around that I would imagine she would read. I kind of wish we had single candles rather than the candelabras, which look a bit posh, but here I'm now doing her bathroom, and I would guess that probably Cinder's tower wouldn't have had its own ensuite bathroom. However, this is not a fairy tale. This is The Sims 4, and we can do what we like. So here we've got and found a gilded mirror that she's probably, you know, surreptitiously lost from one of her sister's bathrooms, perhaps. And I filled it up with just a few of the decor items that she might have had. So laundry basket again would have been her stock in trade, and more of the rag rugs. And because this is meant to be the attic, or the part of the house that has been the least attended to, we've put a lot of cracks and water stains and things around, because it's an attic. It's not meant to be a showpiece. So here I am just trying to find, you know, all of the pieces, and the calendar's probably not you know, doesn't fit the era, but I would imagine that she would have a list of tasks to do, and she would have to keep track of things, or find herself in a spot of bother that she's forgotten to do something. So I've now moved down to the next level of the tower, and I've turned this basically into a junk room or a storeroom, where items that haven't been or aren't being used often are just sort of thrown out of the way. So Cinder's has to climb through all the clutter to get to her room. I did discover, now these are some of their new decor items from Cats and Dogs, those crates, and one of the new mechanics, which I just love, is being able to downsize. Now we've always been able to upsize with the move objects cheat on, but now we can downsize those items. But what I did discover is those items have shadows, and the shadows and things often don't downsize with them. So something for yourself to keep an eye out when you're doing your decorating is to watch and see to make sure that they look appropriate in world. Now this is down a level again, and I've again turned this little part of the tower into another storeroom, this time with a door on it. So they're likely to be things that are used a little more often, but still need to be put somewhere out of the way. And again, that reminds me to remind you, save often. Game crashes happen, and if you are working on a big intricate build or something that's excuse me, sorry, for your next special Let's Play or your new family or whatever, save often, because it's heartbreaking to lose stuff when you've been working so hard. And I actually spent about 11 hours working on this. So this is down on, it's on the second floor, so we're two floors down from the tower, and we have this little utility bathroom here. It's fairly Spartan, but it's neat and clean and would probably be used by family members. Now, the reason I've included more bathrooms than less is that, I don't know about you, but if I've got a household full of Sims that I'm trying to manage, bathrooms can become an issue. And if they're all going to work or going to school at the same time, all of them needing to have showers or go and have a little tinkle or whatever it is can be an issue. So I like to make sure there's plenty of places for them to use if they need it. And this room outside here we've turned into a little upstairs study. And this is the only place where I've really put anything that could be considered modern, because we've put a little computer here at the desk. Because even though this is still fairy tale, medieval type, your Sims, I still need to keep them happy, and they need to chat and they need to learn things, etc. So I've made sure that they have the opportunity to be able to do so. And I've included a few of these little mouse holes around. It says comes complete with its own mouse family, so I'm curious to get into live mode and see if you do actually see any mice popping out of them, which I think would be hilarious. Okay, so we're moving on to that upstairs hallway. Hallways can be a difficult item or a difficult area to furnish because they're transitional. You can make little nooks in them, as I've done here by including a cupboard with some china in it. And I've just put some paintings in, and I do go back and put a console table with some items on it. And again, I've put some plants into that bay window. I myself love plants, and I love the new statues and decor items from Cats and Dogs. And here I've included some skeleton keys, and it's a little bit of a tip to the original Disney version of Cinderella, where the mice had to steal the skeleton key from the stepmother's pocket. So now I'm moving on to the children's bedrooms, and I sort of ummed and ahed about whether or not I should make these sort of more princessy, but I decided to make it a bit more sim user friendly and or sim player friendly, and turn these into children's bedrooms, so with a Jack and Jill bathroom between them. So I've made one is more of a child and one is more of a teen bedroom, and again these are beds from the new pack with the beautiful bedspreads. Excuse me, sorry. So you'll see in this one I've included more toys. Some of the gorgeous, like that gorgeous giant teddy bear that's a cat from the Cats and Dogs expansion, and those posters are from Cats and Dogs. And I think, yeah, we go for more Cats and Dogs because I thought this is a child's room who perhaps might be a little more interested in Cats and Dogs. And again, those little planters are just adorable. And another rag rug. And here we are going into the teen or older style bedroom. I saw Deligracy actually review this Cats and Dogs pack, and she made the comment that the wallpapers that we got, there was a real, not a lack of choice, but it was more that the wallpapers were all very similar. And I agree that there's not a whole lot of difference between the colour swatches. But having said that, I really love them, and I have used them in a few of the rooms here. This is I think a base game swatch in here on the walls, and just plain old carpet on the floor. And yes, wrong colour curtains. So you can see this is, it's probably gender neutral, even though the blue and cream makes it a little more feminine than not. But I wouldn't, with a few changes, you could make this easily into quite a masculine room if you wanted. Or again, with a few more changes, you could make it much more feminine than what it is. And I think if you simply changed out that Tiffany lamp, that would make it less feminine, I would think. And here we are into the bathroom, and we're just winding down toward the end of part one. So yes, you've sat through 25 minutes of this build, and there's another 20 minutes to go before you get to see the entire build in its majestic glory. I'm really happy with the way that it came out. So I hope you stick around for part 2. I'm going to upload them together. I'll see you soon.